All right, bam, we're live. There we go. It's a little. Let me adjust the light. 1 second. All right, get started here in a minute. We'll get started in just a couple minutes. Bear with me. Get everything lined up for y'all. Hope you've had an awesome week. All right, bam, we're live here. Let me get us set up. Any of you guys that go live, love to chat with you one day to figure out how you make everything seamless. All right, looks like we're getting set up now. Looks like a couple people are starting to find the live. Give me let me refresh one of these pages. So, all right, welcome. We'll get started here now. If you guys have any questions, please just let me know what part of the country you're in and what your remodeling specialty is. Otherwise, that's what we're here to talk about, right? You've had a long week. Hopefully, it's been profitable. And we're going to go over a couple things to help get you even more profitable. So, there's a saying, no paperwork, no pay. And these days that applies to more things than you may think. For some of you guys might be thinking I'm talking about your workers. I'm actually talking about your clients. And what I find is, especially those of you that do long projects and have lots of things that come up, if you don't document it, if you don't write it down, if you don't get the client to authorize and pay for it up front, chances of you collecting at the end, not going to usually happen. You're working for free. And it's one of those things where if you didn't address it early on, that this is how we handle additional work, the client's going to think, you guys are already here. You can knock that out. It takes you 15 minutes. Why are you charging me for it? So if you'd like to be paid and compensated for that, this is how you do it. You address it up front. Everything's in writing all the time. It keeps us safe, keeps us honest, both. Keeps you, the client, honest, keeps me, the contractor, honest. The way I explain it to homeowners is, Mr. and Ms. Smith, let's not trust this. I'm running too many projects, right? And too many things happen. We all make mistakes. Let's both protect ourselves. Let's get it in writing. I want you to know exactly what it is. I want to know on my end exactly what it is. I want to make sure that we're both on the same page. If you've ever played that game in school where you've said something to the person next to you and then they say it to the person next to them and it comes all the way back around, it's never the same, right? People say one thing, people hear another. Sometimes people are even saying something that they don't mean to say because their mind is getting disconnected in the midst of it. And then other people will hear something that they thought the person was saying, but it's not what was being said. It's because they got triggered. Once you realize this is just normal human behavior, it happens all day, every day, regardless of the situation, that's when you'll start saying, shit, we need to write this down. I look at it like this. I do work for compensation. If you like to work for free, don't write it down. Fine. I let the homeowner know I'm a professional. When our services, when we show up on site, we want to do what we're supposed to do. And if something additional comes up, we'll address it at that point with paperwork. All right, so let's get into it. Welcome, guys. If you're new here, if you want to ask questions anytime, please feel free. Just let me know where you're from and what specialty, what your niche is. If you're a remodeler, design build, you do kitchens, siding, whatever. All right, I'm going to get started. If you're also new, you can go to our YouTube channel, and on there, you'll see the screen, and I have some slides or at least notes that you can access, whereas obviously here you don't get that. But it seems like most people are chatting through TikTok and not YouTube for whatever reason. So welcome. Happy Friday. Let's get started. And if you are new, generally this takes about 12 minutes. I'll run through the content, and then obviously you can ask questions at any time. All right. So why do we document? I don't document things because I like documenting things. I don't document it to be a pain in the butt. I document it because that's the only thing that holds up anywhere outside of the job site. If you ever have to go to court, if you ever are involved in a lawsuit, if there's ever some sort of an incident, if you don't have it in writing, it basically never happened. You're not protected. So you just have to ask yourself, how much protection would you like for what you're going to be doing and putting out there every day? I happen to live in a litigious state. I live in Maryland, and that was primarily where, so we worked in Maryland, DC, Virginia, Pennsylvania. Maryland was by far the most litigious. And what that means is at any point, anyone can sue anyone. And in Maryland, they can win, even if they're not correct. It's just that somebody felt like they were the victim. And in most jurisdictions, I find that people are against people that own things. So if you own a business, if you happen to own property, you're a landlord, everybody's out to get you because they think you have money. You're a target. So you have to learn to be strategic and to protect your back because somebody's coming for you. If there's an accident, if there's an incident, and they like, oh, you have a licensed contractor on site and that happened? Oh, you should sue him. You see what happens? And then people go, we're not suing you. We're suing your insurance company. You're not going to have to pay for it. Your insurance company is going to cover it. No, I'm going to get crushed. I'm going to have to pay that premium. So people have so many misconceptions, and people just think that if they hire a company, we'll sue them. So if you own that company, you should be doing everything you can to protect your ass from getting sued. All right. And when we have proper paperwork, it shuts all that down. I can let you know we've never were sued successfully. We've had some people make a claim or two here and there. It never went anywhere because when you go back to the paperwork, you're like, well, wait a minute. This is what we all signed. This is what you signed. This is what I signed. And then all of a sudden their memory comes back. Oh, right. Okay. And then it goes nowhere. If you don't have it in writing, good luck. So I learned this very early on, and I was very fortunate. I was the nice guy. I didn't want to have paperwork when I got into the business. I started my own company because I wanted a simpler life in many respects. I wanted to work when I wanted to work. I wanted to work for who I wanted to work for. I wanted to do the jobs that I wanted to do. And I was on a project, and we were doing structural repairs to a homeowner's house. As we were doing it, we noticed an additional joist member had failed, was cracked, needed to be replaced. It was during the morning. I tried to contact the homeowner at work. They weren't responding. I made the decision to say, guys, let's go ahead and make this repair and we'll get settle up with the homeowner later. That homeowner decided that they don't need to pay it because I didn't get it from them in writing. They paid for the other part of the project, but not for the additional repairs. That was my mistake. So I only had to learn that one time. It cost me $3,800, and I will never do it again. And I would suggest to you that you don't do it. What I learned since that mistake was when there's a problem, if some additional work comes up, you stop the job. Now, some of you are going to say, but Mike, that's going to cost me time and money. I'm going to tell you right now, that little bit of a delay is going to be worth it because if you go forward and do the work, now you're spending a lot more money and you don't know if you're going to get paid. Now, things are not absolute. There's a scale. It's not black. It's not white. It's always a muddy color of gray. Did some homeowners pay me and I did some work that I maybe didn't have in writing? Sure. Okay. Some people are fucking reasonable. Many people are not. Many people are going to expect you to just do the work and they're going to say, but you already did it. Your guys were already here. How could it cost that much? I'm not paying that. That's why you get it in writing. So you I'll go back to where I'm going in a minute, but you stop work, you write up the change order, you send it over, you get it signed, and it has to be paid for. You're not adjusting the regular contract. This is additional work. Okay. So think of it like this. Any documentation of a change on a job site is body armor. That's what you're using to protect yourself. Okay. Because it's coming out of your pocket at the end of the day. Make no mistake about it. You won't get that money back. It's not a bureaucracy. Like, it's not a backup plan. You need to have it in writing. Because when a dispute arises, it's not about who's right. It's about who can prove what actually took place. If somebody else can tell a better story and the judge likes their story over yours and you don't have it in writing, good luck. You're probably not getting paid. But if it's in writing and everyone can go, wait a minute, Mr. and Miss Smith, the contractor let you knew that was going to be extra. The contractor made you aware. You signed for it. You said that you were going to pay for it. Why haven't you paid for it? But if you don't have it in writing, it's like it never happened. Paper trails protect profit. That's why you'll do things like daily logs. You want to write down what transpired on a job site. Follow me, for example. Let's say somebody causes a fire while you're doing the remodel. Whose insurance is going to pay for that? The homeowners or the contractors? Whose fault was it? The homeowner's probably going to want to blame it on the contractor and use the contractor's insurance. So if you have daily logs and you can prove that it wasn't your fault that the fire started, you're much better off than if you have no idea who was on site, when, what they were doing. And the homeowner just says, I saw one of his guys over here at 3 o'clock. I'm pretty sure that's the guy that started the fire. And you got nothing to defend yourself. And you don't think it's going to happen to you until it does. And then you're going to be shocked sometimes at the person who sues you because you thought they were your friend. You're like, they've been the best client ever. Yeah, until money's involved. When people lose the things that are valuable to them, they come after someone. So don't be naive. Don't be caught being a nice guy. Be protected. I have it. That's why you're nice, because you have everything up and up. We're going to be legit and it's all going to be documented. That's how I'm nice. All right. So when I say document everything, what do I mean? It means you have a master agreement. You have a main contract that you're going to follow. You have a scope of work. You have some specs written somewhere. Somewhere you have written out the payment and draw schedules. This is how much it's going to be. This is when it's going to be. You detail out and put in writing a change order policy, and then you put in place change orders when they happen. Even if it's non-monetary at the time, if a client makes a decision that goes against what the original agreement was for, and even if it's for $0 at that time, you have them sign a change order that stipulates $0, but we have changed the original agreement. Otherwise, 3 months later, they can sue you because they're going to say, I don't remember that. This is what was written in the contract. Get it in writing. Daily logs. This is what a daily log looks like. You can have one written that you keep in a binder. You can have it digital. It doesn't matter. But anytime one of your employees or one of your subs goes on site, somebody documents it. Joe was on site. What did he do? Rough in plumbing. Okay. Were there any materials delivered? Because what if somebody claims that a delivery vehicle damaged the house, damaged the car? You're like, well, wait a minute. What day did that happen? Wait a minute. We don't have a delivery on that day. Or do we? You keep a record of what happens. You're never going to remember what took place 3 months ago, especially if you're running 10, 12 jobs at once. If you're running one job, you may remember, but I doubt it. You should have a calendar that roughly shows your schedule. Demo this week, framing this week, rough in electric, plumbing, mechanicals, sheetrock, boom, boom, boom. Something should be in writing that the homeowner can watch. All right. Then also you should have, hey, Peter, on, so you can use apps to track all of this. That's up to you. All right. I'm just saying, as a bare minimum, You need to have it in writing somewhere. It could be a Google Sheet. It could be, if you guys are Apple people, it could be an Apple Notes app that you just keep every day. You write down what transpired. That's up to you how you do it on that end. You can do it in a Slack channel. I recommend a lot of people use Slack. So, and if you have an app, a CRM, something like that, absolutely you can keep that content there. It's don't get so hung up on where you keep it. Just be hung up on the fact that you do keep it. These logs, for a longest time, we just keep them on site in a binder. Every day, whoever goes onto site signs the log, writes down real quick what they did, when they did it, and then they leave. Super simple. There's always a binder on the job site. And your crews start to know if this is your mode of operation. That's one way to handle it. Yes, it's antiquated, but it's simple and it works. Okay. And yes, you can also move over to digital. You also want to make sure that somebody's taken before photos. I mentioned this the other day. Whoever, if it's your crew, your team, and your subs, you ask them, hey, Bill, when you show up to site, just take a photo of what the site looks like when you get there. And do me a favor, take a picture of what the site looks like when you're leaving. Some guys will say you're being a pain in the ass, and those aren't the guys that you're probably going to want to work with long term. Over time, everyone will start to see the value in why you're doing this. Trust me, professionals get it. Professionals start saying there's power in having documented what it looked like when I showed up and what it looked like when I left, because otherwise people will claim otherwise. Any communication that you have between you and the homeowner, you should have documented somehow. That's why I recommend a dedicated channel like a Slack account once your job is rolling, as opposed to the text messages on your phone, because it gets too hard to sift through those and find them if you need them in the future. And you should also have a documented punch list or procedure for how you close out a job. We literally, when we do our final walkthrough, the celebration party with the homeowner, they sign saying that everything has been completed to above and beyond their satisfaction level. This way, they're not calling us back in 3 months saying, you guys never finished that. That's why I haven't paid you. No, we get paid and they sign off saying it's complete. That's important. These are things that you learn over time, I'm telling you. So you don't have to do it, but believe me, I am a person that doesn't like future headaches if I can prevent them, okay? And what I find is when I have my shit together and it's up front and I have everything documented and in writing, all of a sudden clients stop trying to fish and see if they can get something from me or sue me. And even some of the nicest people that you think, they've grown up in a world where this is what they do to businesses, right? I don't know if any of you have been to a restaurant, but one of the I used to wait tables when I was like in high school and college. And one of the common things is somebody pulls a hair out of their own head, puts it in the food, eats half of it, and then tries to get it for free, saying, yeah, there's like something wrong with this food. Or they bring a bug and they put the bug in there, right? This is what regular, good, honest, hardworking people do. They cheat because to them it's a game. They feel like they want to get one over on the man, the company, whoever's making all the money, right? You don't want them to be getting one over on you and your company, especially as you get more successful. In the beginning, maybe not so much. Yeah, but that's the reality of the world. I'm not saying that this is true for everyone, but you will be shocked how many people are dishonest when they don't think someone's going to figure it out, when they think that they can get away with something. There's a lot of people in the world that walk around with a chip on their shoulder. They feel like they've been burned. Somebody took one over on them at some point in their life, and they're looking for their chance to get one back, right? You see, it's the same. You see the mentality. Look at what happens when like a store's being looted. People just grab stuff and run. How often do you ever see somebody go, hey, whoa, 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 you guys really shouldn't be stealing all that? No, the average person will steal it and run. Now, it's a little bit different when you're dealing with the homeowner, but you have to understand the mentality is still there to try to take advantage of people. And if they feel like you're a big company, a big corporation, even if they're tempted, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It means they're human. You just don't want to make it easy for them to take advantage of you and your company. So, Peter, to your point, you can use Google Drive, you can use a Dropbox. There are construction apps like one for larger companies, something like a Builder Trend. There's Job Tread, there's Co-Construct. There's numerous different apps that you can use to track the logs. Somebody in your company should be responsible. We would recommend that's your project manager or your office manager. Thank you, Bon. Yes. Okay. I see you're on TikTok as well. Very cool. Thank you. Uh, every job, somebody should be taking at least a couple pictures every day that work's taking place rather. That's the good thing about using digital photos is you can zoom in. You just need, look, you're not going to catch everything. I'm not saying that that photo is going to be able to tell that a 2x4 is cracked or a joist. But what I'm saying is you're trying to look at the big picture overall. I'll give you an example. We were renovating a house and one of our guys had left some tools on site. Okay. It happens. He left some power tools and later he left midday to go to another job. He didn't know if he was coming back or not, whatever. He'd left power tools. He shouldn't have, but he did. Another sub came in and was doing work. When our guy went back the next day, his power tools weren't on site. But because we had everything documented, it was very easy for us to call up the sub who was last there and say, hey, we have a situation here. And so I, owner of my company, talked to owner of that company. And here's what we found out. The owner said, let me look into it. He then put together and pieced together, he has an employee that steals things because this isn't the first time that a thing had gone missing on a job site. In fact, the owner of the company that I called, a couple of his tools had gone missing and he wasn't sure what happened. He started piecing it together and he recognized that this one guy kept being on jobs where shit was disappearing. He caught him. He found the guy. He found that the guy was taking things to a pawn shop around where the guy lived. We all got all of our tools back. And so this is what happens when you document. You can track things down and figure out problems much simpler than otherwise ever would have happened. The other thing is, for those of you that have like expensive tools, you should be engraving your shit. Like you put your license, like if you have in your state, if you're licensed, somewhere on the tool, you engrave the license number of your company, or you put some sort of a special number on there that no one would know. That way, when your shit does get stolen, which it probably will, you can then say to the local pawn shop that around you, or you can talk to the police, or when they try to sell it to another contractor and you see that contractor and you're like, whoa, that looks like mine. You can go up to them and say, hey, does it have this and this on it? And like, yeah. And they go, okay, yeah, that's mine. It got stolen from me. So you can track your stuff back. I have not used Procore, Peter. So, all right. So let's look at how else this works. Make sure you're using templates for your punch list, your change orders, your sign-off sheet, and always confirm everything that's done verbally should be done in writing if it involves a change to the contract. That's why this way, because this is going to avoid the what if. Believe me, when you work with a client for like 6 weeks, they're making a ton of decisions with their household, with their personal job. It's going to be hard for them to remember all the stuff that's going on with you. That's why you make sure everything gets initialed or signed. Same with subs. It's going to be hard for them. If some sort of a change is made on the contract between you and your subcontractor, you just don't say, we're going to be fine. You say, hey, let's get that in writing. Okay. And you both initial it and sign it. Also, in case you ever do inspections, and in some jurisdictions, these inspection stickers are treated like gold. And what happens if somebody loses it, steals it, whatever, it gets thrown away? You want to take pictures of inspections when your local builder inspector comes. You want to make sure that you're getting documentation and you have something on your end to prove that it happened. I've seen it where So we have Baltimore City where we live, and they're terrible. They can't get anything straight. We'll have an inspector come out and inspect something and then go back and check it off that he went to the wrong address and inspected the wrong property. And then they'll argue with you and tell you that they're right. They're that incompetent. Like, you have to recognize this is the level of quality that some jurisdictions are hiring and putting out on the street. So you have to do everything. So we have to prove, no, here's the sticker. Here's the date and the time that the person came out. They inspected the property, right? And we passed. Unfortunately, it looks like they entered it improperly into your all's computer system. And no one's going to want to acknowledge that that's the fact. But if you have pictures, somehow you can document it, then you'll win. All right. These are the things that happens. This is like real life. All right. What else? When you have all this, when you have all your stuff together, you'll notice you get paid. No problem. It really isn't a big deal. So if you don't have like a daily log, you can ask AI to create one for you. I'll put this up here too. It's a little hard to see, but if you don't have a change order form and if you join our Rebel program, all this stuff can be provided, but otherwise you can ask AI to draw one up for you. Change order policy, daily log sheet, a closeout, a job completion sign off sheet, right? Also, your way you store all your files digitally, we have a naming system that we can show you how to use, because over time, when you start growing and you start doing a lot of projects, and what's going to also happen is you're going to start doing a lot of projects for the same homeowner over and over again. So you just can't have like Smith job. It's going to be Smith, because then you're going to work for like 3 Smiths. And then you need Smith, you need the street, and then you need the job, and you need the date. Because believe it or not, we've done like 2 bathrooms for the same homeowner. So you can't, if you got to start learning how to organize this stuff if you plan to be in the business long term. Like, if you're just going to fail and be out of it in like 3 years, like the average contractor, then go do something else tonight. Don't even watch this channel. Like, go think about your next business that you're going to take seriously. I mean, because honestly, that's I don't mean to be as blunt, but this is the reality. Like, the average contractor goes out of business in 3 years. Okay. Because they just don't do the basic things. They don't have the discipline on the back end. But if you're going to do it, plan for the long term. Do the business today as if you're going to be in business for 7 to 10 years. Okay. Because you are going to work. If you do a good job, you're going to work for the same families over and over again. At least that's us. That's my goal. Okay. I can't say what is your goal, obviously. So again, anytime it has to be in writing, that is because it's changed. Hold on, Sadie. Let me open up that screen. I see you asking a question. Or Sadie. Where can you start if you never... I have a question being a general contractor. You mean, how do you start your first general contracting project or job? Like, it's your business? Where do you get your first job? Is that what you're asking? I would, so when I got started, right, so I had never owned a construction company till the day I decided I wanted to own a construction company. And I got licensed and insured, and you just start letting people know that you do construction, you do remodeling. So I had renovated or rehabbed a house. I bought an old house, was fixing it up, doing some work on the side. I worked in a corporate job at the time. I did sales, and I was hiring some contractors to do this, do that, learning how they do it, watching them, helping out a little bit here and there, and recognizing that I loved that job way more than my corporate job. And I was like, I think I start a construction company maybe. And so I understood now what it takes to remodel a bathroom. Like, I demoed a bath and put one back together. Now, I hired a plumber to do the plumbing, but I went and did the backer board, and I put in the tile, and I put in the sheetrock and sanded it, and I painted it, and I installed the vanity, but I had the plumber connect the faucet. I installed anyway. So somehow you have to have some experience. So whether you renovate your own project, you build your own deck, you build a shed, you work for another company and you start, being their employee, their laborer, then you're carpenter for them. As you get a little bit of a, I guess, a book, a bit, you build a little bit of a business, you have a profile that you can show them. These are projects that you've done. Then you just start letting people know that you can solve that problem for them at their house. That's how I look at it. Alls I am is a problem solver. If any homeowner has any issue with their house and they're not sure what to do, how to do it, they should contact a person like me. I will come in and solve the problem for their house. I'm not going to solve the problem for why their car's not running, right? I'm not the auto mechanic, but I'm like the house mechanic. Anything that's wrong with the house, you give me a call. We'll fix it for you. We'll figure it out. That's how I would suggest you start. And you can start simple. Like some guys just start fixing doors. Some guys just start painting, building decks. Anyhow, so again, make sure you guys just have things in writing and always remind the homeowners that everything's going to be in writing. It like when I have my first meeting with the homeowner, I say, Mr. and Miss Smith, let me just explain something to you. I get it that a lot of guys in this industry are very loose with the way they operate their business. And for some people that works really well. I've found over time that it's really best to put things in writing because these are like real transactions and you're spending real money. And this house of yours, that's a real investment. And I'm sure it matters to you that it gets done properly and that everyone understands that what you want is what you're going to get. And what I find is people often make mistakes and misunderstand when it's just talk. So we put everything in writing and it's not to be difficult. It's actually so that we get the best result. So if you're okay with that, then we'd like to talk to you about proceeding. But if that's a problem and you want to just do everything on a handshake, awesome. Go talk to somebody else. That's not, obviously our cup of tea. You're welcome, Sadie. Thanks for being here. But yeah, so I let homeowners know up front that we do a written process. And again, that's up to them to decide if that's what they want to do. Most homeowners want everything in writing because the homeowner on average is really afraid of hiring someone to come do work. For one, it's a big expense. I'm talking typically like for a big remodel, right? The average person isn't going out spending $15,000 to $100,000 at a clip. They're not used to that. And if it's their house and all of a sudden now crews have to come in, they're upset, they're nervous. They don't know what's going to happen. How can I trust them? Are you going to be a jerk? What's it going to be like to have these weirdos showing up at my house every day? So there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of worry, and anything that you can do to help the homeowner feel safe about this decision that they're getting ready to make will benefit you as a business owner, in my opinion. So that's everything that I have. Peter, Sadie, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. But I'll give you, this is for those of you that are curious, this is a good example. We had this problem happen. So we worked for a husband and wife. Their names were Fran and Sand. Sand, or the last name was Sand. Fran and Joe. Joe and Fran Sand. That was their name. And super nice couple. Wanted a lot of work done. They were both like their kids were probably like high school, college age, and they're earning pretty good money, dual income, right? The dink type of a family, as they say. And they had an older house and they wanted a bunch of upgrades. And it started out with just repairing some rotted trim around the garage and replacing some windows. The next thing you know, we're renovating the basement. Now we're remodeling their bathroom, all kinds of work, right? Turned into, we were there like the whole summer. One crew was. And here's what happened. One of their kids came home drunk one night and walked on the tile that my carpenter had just set that afternoon. We were doing tile in his bathroom. And the carpenter puts up caution tape and taped it up. And when so he takes a picture at the end of the day, just shoots a random photo of the floor, right? The tile's set. It's still wet, but it's set. He leaves. That night, the homeowners Teenage son comes home drunk, walks all across the tile. The tile wasn't fully set, so he breaks the bond. Doesn't tell us. My carpenter shows up the next morning and says, "Hey, some of this tile doesn't look right." And we have a little bit of a disagreement with the homeowner about it, right? So we end up removing the tile and resetting it. And then a few years later, in my state, you have three years to file a complaint with the commission that I'm a part of, the board. And 2 days before that 3-day period was up, the homeowner was trying to file a complaint. Okay, thanks, Sadie. I wonder why it's frozen. Um, so the homeowner's filing a complaint that we did not install their tile properly in their floor. And I went back and contacted my home improvement, the commission that I'm a part of. I showed them all the daily logs. I showed them all the documentation. I explained to them that they apparently have a child at the house that doesn't seem to honor the things that were set up, or, like we had asked them not to walk on the tile while we were doing the tile. And he would do that when he comes home drunk. So the commission reviewed the report, and the case was dropped. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you never know people. She was just trying to get money from us at the end. She thought that if she waited 3 years and brought up a suit against us, that she would get some of her money back from. And I was like, don't you remember? Like, we have this all documented. We went through all of this. We made the corrections, right? Um, Anyway, you just never know what something's going to go through somebody's mind. But had I not had all that documentation, I would have been giving her back a couple $1,000s. We would have had to go through a hearing and I would have lost. So, anyway. All right. Well, guys, I don't know. Maybe the video, I don't know. What, Sadie, you said the video's frozen. I'm not seeing any questions come through. Thank you. So it looks like, if anybody, yeah, on either account, if you're on the YouTube or you're on TikTok, okay. If you have any questions, if there any remodeling questions you want to ask, fire away. Let me know what part of the country you're in. Let's see. So, for those of you that, if you are licensed in your state, understand that most of your licensing boards and commissions, if they learn that you're a reputable contractor, that you honor your word. Okay, California is a tricky state. I feel for you, Sadie. Just be careful out there. Most California has rules that no other state in the country has, but in my area, like our licensing board, when they find out your reputation, like if they realize this contractor is above board, they do paperwork, they're professional, they have a procedure, they have a process, they have policies, they work with you, and they tend to just not believe the homeowner just because the homeowner is making a complaint. Now, don't get me wrong. There are terrible contractors, and in fact, there's a lot of homeowners that don't complain and should. So it's not that it's always one way or the other, but also there is a tendency for when people have an issue or they get upset, they tend to want to spread that blame out, and they may direct it in a direction that it's not appropriate, right? Somebody could get fired from their job, and now all of a sudden they don't want to pay for that home improvement project that they signed up for a year ago that's already been finished. So now they're going to want to file a complaint with the commission to say that you did shoddy work. Your work was fine. The issue is they've lost their sole source of employment. And now, if they could get back some of that $60,000 that they paid you, it's going to help make life a lot easier. So they're going to go take you to court, okay, or file a complaint with your commission. Um, you know, and I share these things because I lived through the 2008 economic crisis. And that's when a lot of these interesting scenarios happened. You had If you were in business back then, you understand that the building trades got hit hard. You had a lot of people lose their entire life savings. You had a lot of people get financially impacted. They lost their jobs, and um, the way people react in that type of a situation, they're doing what they can to survive. I'm not saying that it's always honest and it's the best, but when somebody's back is pushed up against the wall and they can't eat or they can't afford to keep their house and they don't want to have them and their family foreclosed on, they're going to start looking to see if somebody else is going to pay their bills. Okay. So and who knows if we're going to have another situation like that or not. Hopefully not. But that's what you learn when you go through something like that 2008, 2012 economic crash. You just start seeing some of the ugliness that can happen in the job site. And most of these people were seemingly nice people that got put into terrible positions, right? Through no fault of their own, but through, unfortunately, the downfall of the economy because a bunch of people that were buying and selling mortgages got greedy. So, anyhow, that's what I have for you. But yeah, so Sadie, be careful. Sadie, in California, you definitely want to document things for sure. It'll just protect you. Let me see. All right, guys. Well, otherwise, all right, yeah, definitely. I, I'm inclined to say that's it for tonight. I appreciate those of you that are here, and I appreciate the questions that you're asking and contributing to the conversation. I'm not sure what else to go over or share other than I will say we do a lot of documentation. These are the job site policies. This is what a job's homeowner completion sheet looks like that they sign at the end of the project. Change order process. On some jobs, you actually have to keep a change order log. Every job's a little bit different. Every person's a little bit different. You have some homeowners that are, hey, Jeff, you're getting in on the end of this one. You might have to watch this one on the replay. um, you don't need the change order log on every job, but depending on it, if you deal with higher end clients on bigger jobs, and I'm talking like full on renovation, remodeling scopes of work where you're doing the kitchen, the bath, you're building the addition, you're putting in the patio, the pool, all the things. Those homeowners are going to make changes, especially when you're working for them for like a year, right? Because you've asked them to make all the decisions up front a year ago. And now things change. They see something new on TV that they like or whatever. You want to keep a log of all the changes that take place so that when you come back at the end of the job, it's easy for everyone to reference. No, Miss Smith, no, back in March, you made the change. You told us you wanted to go with this. See, we put it here. Yes. And then in May, you made this change. Yep. So see, we put it here. And then in June, you made this change. Now, this is rare. Like, not all your projects will take a year or 6 months. Some will. Again, it just depends on your market and the scale or size of the scope of the projects you're working on. But you should always keep track of the basic change order. Every change order you keep a copy of and you document it and you tie it back to the original scope. I will say, for those of you that do full on, like if you do design build and you're a full service remodeler, this happens all the time. Homeowner will hire you because they want a new roof and they want siding. The next thing they know, when they find out you do other things, in our situation, they hire frequently to then do the bathroom. And we won't even be finished the bathroom and they'll already want the fence. Can you redo the fence? Yeah, we can do the new fence. And the next thing you know, they're signing up. Now they want the addition built. Like, we'll do 4 and 5 projects and they almost are all starting to happen at the same time with some homeowners. Recognize this. A lot of homeowners live in pent up uh, demand. They want a lot of things done in their life and they don't always know who to hire. And once they find someone that they like, if they have been thinking about remodeling for some time, but they've held off because of all the horror stories and because their Uncle Joe got ripped off and the Joneses down the street had to go to a lawsuit because that contractor flaked and the kitchen's still not remodeled from a year ago, some homeowners back off. They don't know who to hire, so they wait. And what we found was if you do a good job, when that homeowner who's been waiting, they're not going to tell you all this up front. Like I remember the family is called the Lowrys. They lived in Columbia, Maryland. When Dale first hired me, it was for like, I don't know, 13, 15,000. It wasn't that big. We ended up doing over like $200,000 worth of work for him in the next several months because he had been looking for years. He was like, well, we're thinking about doing that. And he's like, once he found someone that he liked and wanted to work with, he loved my lead carpenter. That my lead carpenter worked for him for the next like 6 months, pretty much exclusively on one job site. So that happens. Yes, you sign additional contracts, for all those things as you go along. Those aren't change orders at that point, but you have to figure out a way. Everything's got to be documented because they get confused, you get confused. Believe me, when you have like 3 contracts going on at one time for one homeowner, you have to have your things in writing so that you keep it straight. And then they're going to start having change orders for multiple projects. Like, that's the reality that happens. So, yeah, Jeff, thanks for being here. Have an awesome night. What else? Oh, in my area, you guys, we need a 3-day right to rescind. So you have to give the homeowner the paperwork that lets them legally cancel the agreement that they have with you in 3 days. Now, there is an emergency clause for those of you that do emergency work. Obviously, if a homeowner needs an emergency repair, like there's a hole in the roof, and they hire you to come do it, they can't cancel that contract. They have to waive that because it was an emergency repair that you're performing within the 3-day cancellation period. But otherwise, in our state, any contract the homeowner can cancel as long as they do it within 3 days of signing. Okay. So you want to make sure you have stuff like that. We provide lien waivers for our clients. So when the job's done, we let them know that the subs have been paid and they're not going to be legally sued. So if you run across a lot of homeowners telling you that they could get the work done cheaper, and you're pretty certain that that means they're going to hire an unlicensed contractor, you let them know about the way the lien process works in your state. Say, Mr. and Miss Smith, do you know that if you hire someone and you pay them, but they don't pay the sub or they don't pay the vendor, that vendor or sub can come sue you for that money, even though you said you paid it to the contractor? So you want to make sure you're dealing with a legitimate contractor who has a lien release policy. And here's why. Here's what ours looks like. Have you asked, did they share theirs with you? That will shut down a lot of those cheap homeowners that are going to tell you that they found a cheaper guy that can do it for less. Have at it. Let's take a look at his lien release paperwork. He doesn't have it. I can tell you that right now. He wouldn't know what it looked like if it hit him in the face. And there's more than one type. Know that. There's an unconditional one as well. So you want to keep those things in mind. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Collection letters, production agreements. Jeff, appreciate you. Yep. Over here. Peter, any questions? All right, guys, we're running up on time for tonight, I think. I appreciate you guys popping in. Hopefully, you got some benefit to this. You know, it took me years to get all this paperwork together. The average contractor just starting out's not going to have all of this stuff together. Most of the time, you only find out that you should have this after it bites you. What I mean is, you get taken advantage of and you learn the hard way. And then you're like, that's never going to happen to me again. So then you go out and you put that policy and you get that procedure put in place. That's how most people learn. That's why this business is very unforgiving and crushes a lot of people, because you only need to make one or two mistakes and you could end up out of business. And then you learn the lesson, but you learned it too late. And some guys get real lucky. Some guys will go 3-4 years and never have a problem. And then they think, what do you mean? That's ridiculous. I don't need to do all that. You're crazy. You just must not have the right customers. Yeah. You never have the right, you always have the right customer until the day that you don't. And if you advertise to the general public, I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot predict how they're going to behave. We had a lady that was super nice and super friendly, did a bunch of work with us, referred us to a bunch of her neighbors. About 3 years later, she got breast cancer. Her personality completely changed. She became a very angry, bitter woman. And I can understand why. Like, in her world, her world changed, right? And all of a sudden she went from being very, I guess, attractive in some respects to now she has no hair. She hates her body. She hates life. She ended up calling the county on us because we were doing work for one of her neighbors, and started complaining that we were not doing this properly. We were making problems here. She was angry. She was angry at the world because she had contracted cancer and wanted everyone else to be in the pain that she was in. Like, this is just what happens to people. And she means, like, at the end of the day, I understand her problem. Like, she used to be a happy go lucky person, and then, hey, life dealt her a card that she wasn't happy with. And then she wanted everyone to be as miserable as she was during that experience. So, that's just what some people do. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. And if you're in this business long enough and you work for the same people in the same neighborhoods, you can start to see it. You'll start knowing, like, oh, we should be careful with that person. They're nice on the surface, but they've been dealt some hard cards, and if they don't know how to manage that situation well, they probably have some baggage. And you just don't want them directing their anger at you down the road, because sometimes it's a very fine line that you walk. All right. All right, guys. This has been a good Friday night. Hope you all enjoyed. If you have Tyler, I don't know who all's still here. Doesn't look like. I think that's everyone. All right, you guys have a great night. I will catch you on the next one.